Hi, I'm Aaron Brown. I'm the owner of Aaron Brown Auctions. I come to you as a real estate agent and an auctioneer. Not a lot of people are that way, having both licenses. So it really allows me to be the one-stop shop to handle all of your auction needs. I'd really like to be your first call when something happens in your life that requires an auction, or if you have the passing of a loved one. I want to have the compassion to deal with that situation hand in hand with you and walk you through all of the steps that would be necessary for a successful start and completion of the auction process. Calling me early. That is something that just should happen each and every time, because when you give me a call early, it allows for me to come in. It really allows me to take a look at what you have. It's easiest for me to look at things that are on the wall, on the shelves, and in the kitchen, in the garage, and in the barn without having things packed away in a box. I want to pull out the valuable items and advertise them appropriately and just really see what value you have there to do the best that I can for you as a client. One of the things that we do after the initial conversations that we have with the family, I really try to take the time to sit down and define a timeline with them that works well for the stage in which they're at. Sometimes with probate court, you need to wait months before you can actually have an auction, but that allows me to be able to complete an inventory would be required for probate court. It would allow that to be, work seamlessly with a probate attorney, helping through all those processes. That would be, an initial step there. As you go forward, some people don't have the need for probate to be involved. I just work at the direction of the family, whether that's through a will or sometimes things are already transfer on death to other people. So when that's the case, we just work with a timeline that would seamlessly work with them. And as we go through the auction process and talk about a lot of different things that are just asked of me, I have to tailor each and every auction specifically to each one. So I can't really say all the time, generally, hey, this is how it works, or this is what we should do. I'll give you a lot of options of what I've done in the past, and there's times that what things have worked really well, and I readily have to admit where things, hey, that didn't work quite as planned, but here's what I learned with that, and here's what would really help your family in that situation. I'm a one-call guy. I'm the guy that can come to you. I come to you with license to auction the personal property that you have. That would include anything from just household items to the vehicles, anything in the garage or barn of tools and farm equipment and, the outdoor type equipment. Additionally, I come with a real estate license, and that real estate license really allows me to have the firsthand knowledge, the one-stop shop of saying, hey, you only have to deal with one guy to do this from start to finish. And that real estate license then allows me to work with your family with a traditional sale, which would be putting a sign in the front yard of the residence and marketing it. Additionally, I have the auctioneer license that couples with the real estate license. So you have the ability to talk through what is best to auction the property. Sometimes people say, well, I wouldn't auction the property, and I wouldn't do that because, I don't know that it would bring enough money. I don't know that, there would be enough buyers here. I've heard all of those things, and I would tell you, the auction method is certainly a path that you could consider. It's not always the best path, and that's where we need to talk out the pros and cons. But, one of the things that people don't consider in an auction sale, sometimes we've started with a number that's actually higher than what they ever expected to have out of the house, or to put it out for sale in the traditional method. There's been times that we've slowed down in a sale of an auction, but at the end of the day, we've ended up higher because there's been two bidders that just absolutely want to fight over who's going to have this property. We've all heard the stories with traditional real estate sale where, they want your highest and best offer by noon on Friday. Well, my highest and best doesn't stop. I am simply able to keep going back and forth to the bidders in a live auction situation until somebody finally says, I'm out. When families call me to look at an auction, there's a lot of different opportunities that I give them as well for how much work they want to do themselves and how much work that they would require out of my staff. Those are decisions that we can simply talk out. And, I have some families that say, hey, here's the front door key and we don't want to do a thing. We've taken every bit of personal items that we want out of the house. Everything else is yours. And then I've got families that say, hey, we want to do a lot ourselves. We want to save some cost. We would like to be highly involved in going through their loved one's home. We would like to, have every opportunity to see every single piece before we decide if it goes to auction. And you know what? That's a great answer too. Having that opportunity, it allows me to just work side by side with them. They can do the work that they desire to do, but I can give them the guidance. Sometimes I just stop in every Saturday morning and see them, Other times they give me a call, they send me FaceTime, or, at times they're send me some photographs and say, hey, what about this? Will this sell? And those kind of things. And I can just flawlessly and seamlessly answer those questions for them. I come in and provide them with, boxes to make things happen. And it's just nice to give them guidance as we continue through the process. And that process could be weeks long or months long. It just is the timeline that they desire. As we move forward with, the setup of the auction, then we move into like the advertising stage. And when we're into the advertising stage, you have to have a huge digital footprint now. I bring a portfolio of places that I generally like to advertise, and I'm certainly open to other options that you may have in mind. And depending on what items you're selling, I can certainly help guide and navigate you to what you should desire to have as advertisement. Once we advertise the real estate and the personal property, I usually like to have somewhere around 20 to 30 days to do that. That gives the opportunity for people to call me, ask questions. Sometimes people call me and say, hey, can you check to see if something is authentic? Can you verify that it's authentication? Can you, give me an opportunity to take a look at the car before the auction? And then, first and foremost, it allows me to have time to really market the real estate. Irregardless of how we sell it, whether it's traditional or the auction method, it really allows other real estate agents to take a look at it, to show it to their clients. It also allows me to bring buyers that I've been working with to the marketplace and show your home. It really allows time for everybody to come really educated to the auction. It allows me to bring maximum dollar to the table for you. The more bidders, irregardless of if it's traditional or the auction method, the better it is for you. Once we get to sale day, I bring everything with me. I've got a complete office on wheels. My enclosed trailer is full of everything that I need to have a successful auction there at your location. I bring everything from the tables to get everything up off of the ground, out of the house and onto the tables for easy viewing. I bring secure showcases for any things that need to be locked up, such as jewelry or fine coins and sometimes firearms. So we want all that stuff locked up and available to view. Additionally, I bring some help that allows me to do the setup rather quickly and check in buyers. We also have the computer system to do all of the clerking, to check in our buyers and check out our buyers for the cash, credit cards, and checks that we take. Once we have the auction going, the auction seems to flow and fast. Right? That's what we like to have, is just fast but consistent selling of your property. People would be amazed that, we're selling 50 or 60 items an hour. So that means one a minute, right? But we keep moving. It's very organized. I really enjoy interacting with the crowd, as I have made many friends through the auction business. I'm really proud to call a lot of people by name as they buy something. It just is that personal interaction that I really, really enjoy about the job of selling. As you guys know, I work very independently as an auctioneer. I don't really, have any assistance during the day of the auction, but selling for 7 or 8 straight hours is something that I've continually done, and I just enjoy to really do that. Lunch comes after the sale. As we kind of get to the end of the day of auction, people are cleaning up, checking out, and moving on. But here's what I pride myself most on. I pride myself in turning over real estate and the auction to the new owner in a condition that you and your family would be respected about, meaning we don't leave any trash, we don't leave anything left for you to deal with, we don't leave anything left for the new buyer to deal with. I just really take pride in saying, hey, this is how I want to turn it over to somebody. During the settlement portion of our auction, meaning that I want to settle up with the sellers, I usually make that a personal contact. I don't just send you a check in the mail. I want to talk through the auction and what your expenses were. I'd like to talk to you about the proceeds, and just make sure that you understand every bit of my itemized paperwork. That way we're on the same page when you go to the estate attorney, or whether you're just turning the money into the bank. You have a very clear understanding of where it came from, what happened during the process of expenses. You're left with a final check that you won't have to take any other expenses out of. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm Aaron Brown. If you have any needs at all, just give me a call. I make myself available anytime. I'd really like to talk to you on the phone, but ultimately, the best thing that I can do is come out and see what you have. Let's talk in person. As we look around, I'll give you the very best angles that I can help you through the entire process. If you'd like to learn more, the best way of contacting me either is by phone or email. However, I've got a wonderful web page that you can look at, scroll through, you can get all kinds of content on there, and you can even contact us right there at AaronBrownAuctions.com.